So this is gonna be like a tier list for ballistic skills, Mordheim Paramod. So let's talk about the bullseye. So bullseye gives you plus 10% chance to hit your aim shots. So basically, like your aim now has plus 20% chance to hit. Now has plus 30% chance to hit instead of 20% chance to hit. I mean, if you're going like for like the aim strategy on like heroes and stuff, you're probably going for like the master version. So this like more applies to the henchmen. And I don't think like henchmen really have enough SP to make proper use of the skill. So I think the skill is a bit of a trap. I think it just kind of ends up being kind of bad, if not bad. I think I'm just gonna like put it to bed. I think like the unupgraded aim is already good enough. And I think you would be like better off investing into something like basic trick shooter instead of this. As for the mastery, so the mastery has also the bonus that it also gives you cheaper aims, cheaper aim actions by 1 SP. I think this works like really well with the hunter skill, which has like the mastery version of it, which gives you like an 80% chance to give you back 2 strategy points. And I think in that case it works like rather well. I think it might also work well with other skills. Exhaustion, right? I think it can also work really well with exhaustion. I think it's definitely usable, this skill. I'm gonna like put it at least into not bad. For the crippling shot. So what a crippling shot does in Paramod is that it removes maximum 1, maximum and current offensive points of 1 for 2 rounds. I think this is definitely usable on like a supportive archer henchman. Ideally, you would probably want to combine it with like the mastery. I think it's usable. I think it's fine. I think it's like it can like getting rid of like 1 OP on a character can be really brutal against that character, especially in like PvE, because in PvE like -1 offensive point for the enemy could mean like -1 amount of attacks. So yeah. I think I'm gonna just put it kind of to good. But to be honest, I don't really use this skill on henchmen anymore. As for the crippling shot mastery, the skill is like really freaking good. What it does, it removes it removes 2 maximum offensive points from the enemy, and it also removes 2 current offensive points as well once you remove like the maximum. And this lasts for 3 rounds, so it lasts for a very, very, very long time. And here I think it's like even more significant than this one, than this crippling shot. It is like an absolutely amazing skill for controlling the battlefield with your support archers. If you just imagine that you use this sort of a skill on like 3 enemy henchmen. Like all these 3 enemy henchmen for 3 rounds, they will be attacking 1 less time. This crippling shot also can be like quite sorry, let me just fix this. This crippling shot can be also quite brutal against characters which have like 200 weapons, or if they are dual wielding. especially in PvP, because this usually like translates into a one less attack total. So if you have like a two-handed weapon, you attack, and you attack. This costs 9 offensive points. If you have 7 offensive points, you can only do this twice, right? With the basic version, you would have like 8 offensive points. So you are still able to fix that issue by using Adrenaline Rush, right? Because you're like fixing your offensive points, which is also like another reason why Adrenaline Rush is so good. And here's the thing, like, if the enemy cannot deal with Crippling Shot and cannot deal with your archer in a proper way, you can use the skill again, and you can apply it to new targets. So suddenly there are like a total of 6 targets who have been affected by Crippling Shot, whose DPS has been reduced like by a lot. Also, like, about Crippling Shot, this is also a very, very good tool at well, what I found out in the tournament especially, it's pretty good at hunting demons. So like when you see like a demon approaching you and it hasn't like reached you, it still has some leftover offensive points usually. But because like the Crippling Shot has the ability to remove also the current points, you are able to create like such a situation where you remove the current offensive points from the demon. So you will be counter-attacked by the demon less amounts in total. So it's a really amazing skill, and if you're building like a support archer, if you're playing PvE or PvP, I think this is amazing skill for supportive archers. And I think I'm gonna like put this into the god tier because of how much of a menace this skill can truly be. So this one is Eagle Eyes. The basic version gives plus 5% armor penetration on ranged weapons, and the master gives you plus 15% armor penetration on ranged weapons. To be honest, I don't really use the unmastered version all that much, but I can see it like being good, especially if you use it with another if you stack it with some more armor penetration, such as like the perforation rune or the crossbow, right? Because crossbow has plus 15% armor penetration, so you will end up having like plus 20% armor penetration. So you'll be doing like good damage like that. I'm not sure how relevant like the plus 5% damage really is though. But if you're like building some kind of a damage archer henchman, I don't think this is bad. I don't think this is a bad skill. So I'm gonna like put this into. So Eagle Eyes Mastery, it actually gives like plus 15% armor penetration, and it's like significantly better, obviously. And this is like an excellent skill to use on damage archers, like archers who are focusing on dealing as much damage as possible. I think it's a good idea to use this in combination with like perforation runes, so that you have like 42% armor penetration with a crossbow in total. Or alternatively, like Slaying Rune. Slaying Rune can be like really nice for ranged weapons. So this one, to be honest, I haven't really used this all that much, but I think like the damage on this should be like really good, in my opinion. So Entrenched. It basically puts you into a dodge stance, which is more or less kind of whatever for range characters. It can matter, but you don't really use it for the dodge, because you never ever you almost never ever want your range characters to go into melee combat. Other than that, this is like almost like a normal Overwatch, except it also gives you plus 10% crit chance on your Overwatch. And Trench can be like a decent thing on Brethren, right? Because Brethren already has like plus crit chance to all his Overwatches. So I don't think the skill is like really bad or anything, but it's not quite as consistent as like the Mastery. I think the Master is like way better. It's much better. This skill I think is definitely usable though. So I think I'm just gonna put it into. I don't think this is bad skill. It's definitely usable, but ideally, like I can see it like on like a supportive brethren henchman archer who may or may not be able to crit somebody sometimes, and with that crit, he may or may not be able to stun somebody. If you manage to stun somebody with this, it's amazing. It's really good. But yeah, first you have to actually get there. As for the mastery, it is like significantly better because it's also like easy to master, which is like amazing. And it ups the critical strike chance to 30%. So it's also a lot more consistent at actually critting the target. And this can be like very nice on an LGT Brethren Archer. You Another also think another also good thing about the skill is that it also removes the minus 10% hit chance. So you are more likely to hit, and you are much more likely to crit somebody and maybe stun them, right? Oh, but this is not also just usable on like these supportive type of archers. I think this is also extremely usable on crit archers. Archers who are focusing on the sharpshooter skill and they are trying to get as much crit chance as possible, because like the sharpshooters are gonna have like naturally a lot more crit chance than other archers. So I think it also goes well with these sort of archers. And because of that, I think I'm gonna put this into like really good, because it has that potential to snipe somebody randomly, and maybe after that you may be able to kill them as well. Handshot. So, handshot just gives you minus 10% chance to hit on whichever character you hit. For two rounds. The master gives you minus 15% chance to the enemy to hit. I think the skill is like this skill is quite a nice complementary skill if you have some kind of a melee resistance tank. If you manage to use this skill on, like for example, enemy impressive, or if you manage to hit this on a demon while your melee resistance tank is engaged, it can be like a very nice support for your characters. Or like they don't necessarily, it doesn't even have to be like a melee resistance hero. I think like melee resistance henchmen appreciate this more. I used the skill a lot when I was playing PvE and I was playing with my Witch Hunter Warband, and I made like a bunch of melee resistance tanks. It's a nice skill, I think. I think it's a nice skill. And there is also like a nice thing that you can stack it with the mastery. It is relevant because then like the enemy doesn't have like minus 10% chance to hit, but like a total of minus 25% chance to hit. And that can be really significant, and enemy might have like a really hard time like actually hitting you. So I'm thinking like Like, okay, one more thing. I wouldn't use this sort of a skill, like these handshot skills, in like any warband. I think you really should be like using these skills when you kind of want to like focus on like this melee resistance style builds. Otherwise, I don't really think it's worth it. I think like something more general, like crippling shot, would do a better job, in my opinion. So I'm gonna like put this. Um, Maybe let's put it like this, and then I'll decide. But it's definitely like between like good and not bad, in my opinion. Okay, so knee shot. Knee shot is basically when you hit a target with an arrow and they get -15 initiative. And the mastery version gives -30 initiative. So this skill is actually really, really good. It helps set up like a lot of two-turn plays, meaning that you get, with your characters, you get to attack an enemy twice before they get their own turn. And this also usually kills the it either like kills the characters or strategically allows you to move your other characters in like different places on a map. um it's a really, really, really amazing skill at controlling the battlefield. The mastery version is much, much better because it's easier to play around -30 initiative, right, rather than -15 initiative. And here's also like the thing: if you reduce enemies initiative by 15 or by 30, in a way you increase your entire warband's initiative against that one target. So you may allow like multiple of your heroes and henchmen to take a second turn against that target. I really, really, really like the skill on like support henchmen. Like once you realize there's an opportunity to use a knee shot, uh, it's gonna work like really amazingly well. And like one more thing, these skills also stack. So like even if you have like somebody who has an incredibly high initiative, it could be like some kind of a demon, like demonette, you are still able to two-turn that character, possibly, with the combination of these two skills. So even like together, they're like very good. I usually like running one support henchman archer with like the basic version, and one support archer with the mastery. Or that's at least what I'm doing with like my mercenary warband in the tournament right now. So I'm gonna put this one to really good because, and I think I'm gonna like put this at the top because the opportunities are quite nice. And this one, I'm gonna put this to insane. Sorry, insane. I'm gonna put this to God tier. It really is just that good. So nerf shot. So what nerf shot does right now is that it disallows enemy to use their like regular dodge and parry stance, and that's it. Yeah, it's pretty much just kind of like unusable. um you can technically use it, but it's just kind of a waste of resources, because usually you can just like attack somebody and just break that stance just this way, and it's probably like the easiest way to do that. So I don't really see the point of the skill as it is like the current version. I mean, Para was like talking also about thinking about changing the skill up because it just doesn't do enough, and I just kind of agree with that. So So this is just like, I mean, it's not as bad as Overpower because it doesn't cost like 4 offensive points, you know? And it does actually something, right? So yeah, I'm just gonna like put this like to bed, to be honest. Okay, as for the mastery version of the nerf shot, so this is like really amazing because the mastery version also disables Web of Steel and Sidestep. And in my previous tier list videos, I was already talking that like Web of Steel, in my opinion, is like a god tier skill. And Sidestep is also really, really incredible and amazing. And just being able to disable like Web of Steel and that Sidestep, it can lead to so much damage. And it also just feels awful for the people who are using like Web of Steel or Web of Steel or Sidestep to not be able to use their skill anymore. But usually, like the way you want to use the skill, you just mark somebody for death. You mark somebody for death, and then yeah, you follow it up with your impressive. So like for example, Ogre can get parried by Web of Steel, but if the enemy is disabled with Nerf Shot, like your Ogre is just free to deal as much damage as he wants. So I think this is also another god tier skill because it deals with some of the best skills in the game in like a really great and efficient way, right? And I feel like this knee shot and crippling shot and nerf shot are some of the best skills you can get on a support archer. And you can like, in my current run, for example, I have like the mastery of knee shot, mastery of crippling shot, and mastery of nerf shot, and I use them accordingly. Like I use whichever I need at the moment. So the next skill is actually overhead, and basically it gives you plus 10% additional chance to hit your target if you're above them. And the mastery version gives you, instead of plus 10%, it gives you a total of plus 30%. So there is like one thing already that whenever you are like above an enemy target, you're already getting a higher chance to hit the target. And overhead just kind of like improves it. There's also like this enchantment. It's called, I believe it's called Rune of Flight. And Rune of Flight gives you plus 20% higher hit chance if you're above the enemy. I think like Rune of Flight could be like a better alternative to this, in my opinion. My only problem with this skill, I think it's definitely usable, and I think you should like use it on some sort of characters who also like to climb. So I think I would use this in combination with something like a wall runner, so that you don't fail your climbing up. And like the only awkward thing about the skill is that sometimes you do not find like any spot where you could actually use this skill. And the other awkward thing that may happen is that, okay, you see that there is some kind of a spot where you could go to, but once you actually go there, you find out that you lose like the angle to shoot the enemy. So you cannot like shoot the enemy anymore because you're just not finding the angle, and that can really suck. So in my opinion, it's usually just better to just shoot while you can, rather than trying to like force the skill to happen. So overall, I think the skill is just kind of okay, I guess. I maybe it's like not bad, but personally I wouldn't use it. There's also like one other question about overhead and about like being able to shoot people, because I believe like range in Mordheim is like a sphere around the character. I believe that's the case. I'm not sure. I might be like talking out of my ass right now, but I believe it's like a sphere. So if you're like higher up than the enemy and it's like a sphere, you should have like mathematically like less range than like being on the same like line. But I don't know. I'm not sure if that's how Mordheim actually works. I might be completely wrong. Um, yeah, because when you think about it, there's also like Overwatch. Overwatch is not really set up as a circle. I mean, Overwatch is kind of like set up as a circle rather than like ball around you. So I might be like completely wrong on this. So yeah, I think it's like it's usable. Let's just put this to okay. Mm, like this could be like a nice. It could go nicely with this skill, in my opinion. I don't know. This skill. Hmm. We can put this to. Maybe this might be like too much commitment. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So pinning shot. So pinning shot kind of works in the same way as a crippling shot. It just gives -1 SP and for 2 rounds, and the mastery version gives -2 SP for 3 rounds. If you are gonna be using like pinning shot, you're using it for a reason. And the reason is that you're trying to remove as much SP from the enemy as possible so that they never approach you. You can create sometimes like scenarios where you get rid of all of the strategy points that enemy has, and enemy just cannot get close to you whatsoever, and that's of course incredibly powerful. I was already talking about like how Hamstring and Righteous Fury are also like pretty good because they remove like those strategy points, right? So if you combine it even with something like Hamstring, this can be incredibly powerful. This can be also like really powerful with the Skaven poisons, which also can remove some of those poisons, additional -2 SP, and in that case we're looking at like -4 SP, right? But it's like a very specialized warband, I think. So I think I'm just gonna like. I think this is like kind of like a fair. Like I don't think it's. It can be like completely insane. But to be honest, I don't really see the skill all that much, honestly. So yeah. Oh, quick reload. Um, quick reload mastery. So quick reload makes every time you reload, it costs 1 less SP, and the mastery is every time you reload, it costs 2 less SP. I think the skill is pretty much a must-have on every single ranged character, because they are like so SP heavy, and they have to like use a lot of their SP for like positioning, but also like reloading, right? So I think like the skill, I don't think there's like much to discuss, honestly. Like if if you are like not experienced in Mordheim, you will just feel like the difference when you actually use a character without quick reload and with the quick reload. I would probably use this on every single ranged character. Sharpshooter. So sharpshooter, whenever you hit an attack, you gain plus 2% critical hit chance for ranged weapons. And this is for 2 rounds, and this is like infinitely stackable. Well, infinitely. As many attacks as you can get in, right? I definitely wouldn't use the skill on a henchman. I don't think it's worth it. If you're looking to do some kind of a crit archer, you're much better off actually investing into the mastery of sharpshooter and just really focus that one hero on that mastery, because you're gonna get like more crit overall. So I think this skill is just, I think like unmastered version is probably just bad. Like I wouldn't use it. I don't think it's worth it, really, especially since Paramod has like removed the rune. There's like a rune in vanilla which is like quite strong. Basically, whenever you hit your target, they get minus crit resistance. And this, in combination with this skill, it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense, in my opinion. I think it's like usable for sure. But like this, without that rune, I think it's just kind of bad. As for the mastery, I would just kind of put it into not bad. The biggest problem that sharpshooter has is that you're kind of playing a casino. You're really just kind of playing a casino if you manage to crit somebody or not. So sometimes you like win at the casino and it feels like amazing because you're just getting crit after crit. And sometimes you just don't get those crits and it kind of sucks. And then you're like, why am I like playing this crit archer when I could be like playing this armor penetration archer and have like a more consistent damage, right? You also have to be like careful what kind of targets you're choosing with your crit archer, because, well, like for example impressives, like because that rune that reduces crit resist doesn't exist, this skill is not as good as you might think. If the minus crit resistance rune existed, I think the skill would be like really freaking good, because it would like stack so much nicely, so much more nicely, right? Okay, so next one is trick shooter. So trick shooter allows you to pierce 5% range resistance, and the mastery version allows you to pierce 15% range resistance. In other words, what this basically means, you have a plus 5%. Like, you should probably assume that most of the characters in Mordheim are going to have at least 15% range resistance. And if they don't have 15% range resistance, you're probably going to hit them anyway. You know, you're gonna just get them to complete 0, and you're not gonna have a hard time hitting them. So this skill, in my opinion, basically reads this one is just like you get plus 5% hit chance for your range attacks, and with this one you get plus 15% range hit chance to your attacks. So both of them are pretty good. I think like I'm gonna start with the mastery. I think the mastery is like really good. If you are not playing something like a marksman, you should probably use the skill on your support archers, because support archers are using like less amount of shots in general. So because they're using less amount of shots in general, they also want to be able to hit the target more often, and they cannot afford to miss the target as often. So, but this is also definitely usable on like damage archer. So I think overall the skill is, I think it's really good. I think it's like really good. Just how good are you? Like that's good. Let's put it like this. And this one, I think this one is like more preferential because it's just 5% hit chance. So like you may or may not go for it. I think it can still make sense for your characters. If you don't have like any passive skill slot, but if you don't know like how to use the skill, you can just if you have like some empty skills, you can just go for this one, and you cannot go wrong with it, in my opinion. So yeah, ballistic skills I think overall are really good, and they can be quite a game changer, really. Yeah, they're really good. You just have to be able to protect your archer with a good front line, and you're gonna be able to control the battlefield quite well with the support archers. But also like damage archers are also like very good. So